Be safe, but keep listening. Tell other people about it. Celebrate, everybody. Celebrate. We're back talking Florida State football. They're back on the gridiron this week. I'm anxious, very anxious to see them play because I think a lot of things kind of oddly have transpired since we last saw them play. We've had time to reflect, time to think about what they could be and the need to get healthy and perhaps shuffle some personnel. We heard from the coaches today, comments on what Mike Norvell said, what Alex Atkins had to say, what Adam Fuller had to say. Later in the show, as we're wont to do on a Monday, we'll be joined by the great Irash Fell in the second hour, and I look forward to that as well. Now I get to rekindle the conversation. Tom Lang, welcome back to town, buddy. How are you?
Hey. I lost 2 arms and a leg. The mouse always wins, even more than the house does when you go to Vegas. But it was a great time. The weather was actually okay because it was cloudy, so it wasn't brutal. And people watching sports on their phones in the lines. Like, there was so much good football this weekend.
Yes.
Ryder Cup, not so much, but people were locked in, and you hear cheers at one part of the park in Epcot or another. It was a good time. Good bye week.
It's a good bye week because I think we got confirmation of something we already knew. I think a lot of us suspected early in the season that there wasn't a dominant football team that was owning college football until somebody else could rise up and perhaps lay claim. Like Georgia has the last couple of years where you've kind of looked at them and thought, I don't know who's beating that team with the defense with that kind of ferocity, and they had a veteran quarterback, and they had all the elements of what you needed, all-world tight end, good offensive line, run game. They were dominant on defense, but they're struggling so bad right now on offense. I mean, basically, it's the Brock Bowers show. Oh, by the way, you may want to cover that, dude. He's really effing good. Holy moly, on every play. What are we doing over there, guys? Bizarre. But that said, they're flawed. We're flawed. These other teams that are vying for the top spot, whether it's Washington or Oregon or Southern Cal or Michigan. Well, Michigan hasn't shown any flaws, but they also haven't played anybody yet. So it's interesting as we look at these teams, you think, why not us? Moreover, what you think about is, holy moly, man, it's looking more and more, Tom. And I thought it over the weekend. Our friend Ingram Smith with the Battles In and I were talking, and we're going to have to go undefeated. And that's all there is to it. I think if you're going to get in this thing and you're going to get there to dance and try to find out whether or not you're the best team in the country, you're going to have to go undefeated because you just watched LSU's defense give up 700-plus yards. That's an embarrassment. They have more losses coming if that's the way they're going to play defense. And so you're going to have to hang your hat, I think, as we move on. Perhaps the Clemson win will be your best win. We'll see. I mean, obviously, you still have to play Miami, who as of right now is a good football team. But now that Florida's lost again and Kentucky drubbed them, and so that's not going to look good for you down the road. I just don't know where your wins are going to come from that will impress this committee when the time comes. And I hate thinking about that. I refuse to think about that. In fact, I'm not going to think about that because if you just keep winning, it won't matter. You will be in. But it does appear you're going to have to go undefeated because I don't think a one-loss team is getting in with the ACC resume.
Yeah, I think it's the cachet of 2 matchups with Miami, and Miami has 1 loss in that scenario when you play them again. I think that's maybe your path, or Miami is undefeated, and unfortunately you would lose the first matchup and then win the second, but Miami is your last hope in that regard. The good news, even though you'd never like to see an injury, is that the Duke game got a lot easier. That had so much, as we're now in October and it's postseason baseball. Sorry, Director Matthew, but that reeked of Ryan Howard grounds out to end the game. The Philly season is over, and he tore his Achilles. It's like, so next season is now over. You remember when that happened 10, 12 years ago?
Oddly, just because the story was crazy, I kind of laughed. I thought it was hilarious. I don't know why, even though I like him, and I don't have anything against the Phillies. I just was like, holy moly, that's brutal.
I mean, what a way to lose a game. And there were a couple of those, like you're talking about with Georgia. Man, they're going to one guy. There is one guy. If he does Travis Kelce things and you bracket him, okay, understood. But he's single covered. What in God's name are you doing, Auburn? But I think Miami is about your only hope at this point. And I don't want them to be a hope. I'd rather that they stink and then we just run roughshod over the 12 games. Then maybe being undefeated, North Carolina is undefeated at the time. But the ACC all plays each other. Clemson gets a crack at North Carolina. Miami does here shortly. just keep winning your games. Just take these 3 straight home games and win them all.
The thing with Riley, the Riley Leonard injury, I hate it for that kid. He's a really good player, by the way, really good player. The whole time, every time I watch him, I'm like, why are you at Duke? But anyhow, he's very good. Yes, we might get lucky. He may not play against us. Then again, everybody magically heals before they play us. So I'm not entirely certain that's the case. Seems like every time, especially when we were down, if you had any guy that had a pulse and he was really good, but he was rumored to be out for the next 6 weeks, if we played you within 3 weeks, he somehow was better.
Yeah, the COVID year, Kenny Pickett, he was not supposed to. He had no chance, and then he saw us on film, and he's like, you know what? I'm feeling good today. I think I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah. So, let's say high ankle sprains are really difficult to recover from. They typically take a lot of time, but you're also talking about people who have access to the best equipment, the best doctors. And so, maybe they can expedite that. You or I are down for 3 months, but you get that guy in there and he's in a real locker room with real doctors and all that other stuff. You might be able to heal it. But point is this, Florida State just got to play well. If they play well, they're going to win games. It's the bottom line is the schedule is manageable, but they're going to have to play well because we've seen what happens when they don't. They're capable of looking really bad. The further we get removed from that Boston College game, the more aggravating it is. Louisville had no problems with Boston College, and Virginia damn near beat him this weekend. The Boston College isn't good, and that kid's not great. I'm tired of all that conversation. We just looked like ass that day, and it's very, very frustrating.
Yes, the good news is that we don't have another bye week. You want to play more football to give us new data points to say, all right, they're cleaning some stuff up, they're getting better. Yeah, I think the winner this weekend for Florida State was its defense because Jaden Daniels continues to look special. That offense for LSU continues to look special, and it's that second half performance where you go, I guess that was Adam Fuller's night. In retrospect, I know they gave up 300 yards in the first half, but what they did in the second half to help close that thing out, if the FSU offense was a bit of a loser this weekend in terms of what LSU's defense looked like, you could look at it the other way and say, well, nobody's stopping that kid yet except for us for 30 minutes.
No, I don't think Ole Miss is going to stop anybody's offense. So yes, I guess it is true. I would say that's kind of the story of Adam Fuller's career at Florida State. Every time you want to give him credit, there's a caveat.
Yep.
And so I do the same thing. Like if I start to credit him, then I go, well, then again, and we point to 3 or 4 other things that you're furious about.
But here's the good thing is that you get 3 home games. We've only played 1 so far. So you get 3 in a row. This by the time you head up on the road and you go to Wake Forest, should be 7-0 and maybe feeling a little bit better about what's going on in the running game. They're talking about it out loud in the press conferences, though, about all that is wrong with the running game and having to get it going. So they're not shying away from that part of the conversation.
It would be silly to. We know what he is. We know what this offense is. We know what Norvell wants to do. We know what they talked about before the season. We have eyes. We watch the games. We can look at the numbers, and you have empirical data as well as eyewitness testimony. So you have got everything you really need here that says they're struggling to consistently run the ball. I do think they've probably figured out who they are on defense now, and I really look forward to seeing them play on Saturday because they're going to get tested by a guy he's a load. Dude's 230 plus pounds who can really run. And so if you're not serious about it, you're going to have a problem with him. And this weekend, he finally showed the ability to throw the ball down the field some too. So, you probably got to buckle it up here and want to play. Now, the good news is we're coming off the bye. They should be fresh up front. I love our front 4. That's something I've consistently stated. I think that's going to be the rock of this team, not the offensive line, but rather the defensive line, I think is really the strength of your football team. From there, various shades of good to average in a lot of different spots. I think when it all comes together, the other part of this team that we'll be talking about glowingly, the way we do our front 4, will be the receiving core. When they get them all involved and this thing gets moving a little bit, I think we will be talking about that group as a very difficult ask for a defense to stop. But they got to get humming. Hopefully they use this time coming out of the break to get right, to get healthy, to kind of clean up the things that have really plagued them. And let's go from a personnel standpoint. Let's go from a mentality. Now Jordan's got to be feeling better. I know Mike said today that he's feeling a lot better, that the bye week couldn't have come at a better time. Well, that's really good news because they're going to have to run him. And they haven't run him, and that's going to open up the rest of the running game. So if he's capable of doing that, maybe not this weekend, I don't know. We'll see to what degree. But at some point, they're going to have to do it to really get this running game going.
I'm looking forward to watching it because, the coaching staff and in general, coaches, you do coach speak here on Warchant TV. It's a Seminole Headlines production. That's fun. They won't say it in public, but then they'll tell you based upon how it looks when they call the plays. Like, for example, Garrett Riley, when we played Clemson, did not want to throw to the flats in the bubble game like he did against Duke. He knew that we come up, we make plays there. In fact, we made the play of the game on defense in that very part of the field. So he's telling you what he sees on film by the way he's calling the game. He won't go in the media and say out loud, well, we can't throw to the flats. Florida State's too tough there. What do we do offensively? Formationally, what kind of runs do we call? Are we more of a zone team instead of counter? Do we run up the middle more? Is there any change? Is it, this is what we're about. We're just going to clean up the mistakes we've made, and our core plays are our core plays. The coaching staff is going to tell you over these next couple of weeks what they thought when it was all time to self-scout, because that term was brought up a lot today of self-scouting. So they're going to tell you what they think that they actually can accomplish and things that they're literally punting on and saying, no more. All right, let's move from A to B. This is our identity this year. I would like to be something else, but these are the ingredients we have, and let's make the most of it.
I like that there doesn't appear to be a dominant team because it makes the criticism of our team, which I have, I think seem fair because it's also alongside the same sorts of criticisms you could have for everybody else. And so we just have a jumbled mess at the top where nobody really knows what's what. We all have an opinion on who we think is the best team or who has the best resume. Florida State certainly arguably has the two best wins. You could say the same. I guess I would maybe argue that Texas now does. That road win against Alabama and then pasting Kansas the way they did. That was a ranked team. You look at that situation. I think you could argue Texas. I think you could argue Michigan, who hasn't played anybody, but they run the ball, and play great defense. And I think that's a formula we've now seen for 2 consecutive years in which they've made the playoff. I think that's who they are. I think from there, you could start nitpicking a lot of people, including us. I don't know. As of right now, we need more football. But guess what? We've got a lot of football to be played. We don't have to know right now. And that's the sense that I get from our fan base. I keep getting these emails and tweets and people on social media. Why do they keep dropping us? Why do they keep dropping us? Stop worrying about it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We're going to be all right. Got to keep winning games. As long as you win games, everybody else plays each other. It's going to work out in a way that I think it will suffice. You'll be one of the 4. Next year at this time, we won't be having this conversation because it won't matter if you're 5th or 7th or 9th or 3rd. I mean, you're going to the playoff, it really won't matter. But this year it does. So you'll keep watching. Now, if something bizarre happened, like Florida State beats Virginia Tech this weekend 37-17, and they drop you 2 spots, we might want an investigation. I mean, we may ask for some higher ups to take a gander at what the hell's going on here. But short of something like that, I'm not overly concerned by these rankings this early. It doesn't do you any really good to do so. I am impressed by a few teams that I didn't think I'd be impressed with. I don't know how much you've watched, Tom, but that Kentucky team is legit good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They play big boy football up front at the lines of scrimmage, both lines of scrimmage. They can run the ball down your throat, and they stop the run. That would be an interesting matchup. They're not electrifying on offense. They'll probably lose to Georgia because I don't know how they're going to score. But they can stop Georgia from scoring. We may have a 6-3 game this weekend.
Well, a lot of people are stopping Georgia from scoring. And the thing is, if they get up on you, that's a boa constrictor of a team. Like you're talking about the toughness. And then we know Mark Stoops will keep things in front of him defensively and say, all right, break off a 9-play drive, go down the field. And they've got the horses to do that. Yeah, they're fascinating. There's a lot of teams that are fascinating. I mean, Florida went all in a few weeks ago for that Tennessee game in terms of the recruiting visits and, trying to hype it up. And that was a big win for them that night in 2 ways, on the field and then also in the recruiting circles. But because of the parity that you're seeing around college football, that also makes the NIL game a lot tougher, the battlesend.com. It makes recruiting more murky. I would think that obviously Ole Miss, even though their fans were idiots and rednecks and throwing beers on the field and they win anyway, that atmosphere is electric. The kids are going to love what they saw, what they took part in. Auburn, a lot of big-time recruits like KJ Bolden made his way out to Auburn for that game. Even though they lose, they kind of win in the recruiting circles. It's just the parity has a lot of implications. It makes the college football playoff discussion very interesting in the last year of the 4 teams, but then also in the recruiting world, this is going to be fascinating because it's not just, well, if I want to win a national championship, I got to go to these 3 places. You're starting to see the conversation open up at a time that there are more chairs at the table for the college football playoff in the near horizon.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch this thing shake out. As I just mentioned, the Georgia-Kentucky game, that they have a bye week this week, but then they play Kentucky. So that will be a fun game for all of us to tune into. We get Oklahoma and Texas, so something's got to give there. We've already talked about the fact that Michigan and Ohio State play, and you have all these matchups where they're going to play each other. So, Washington and USC, all these different teams, it'll work itself out. You've won the two biggest games you had to play. Now you just have to be careful that you don't have one of these moments like you had against BC. Maybe it really was that they were just sick as a dog. Could very well be. I think we have evidence that there are some other problems there too. But I do think they've probably got a good handle on their identity. I keep getting the sense from whenever I listen to Mike Norvell talk that this is no longer a if you'd like conversation. It's a mandate. I don't think it's going to be, hey, maybe a little more pressure if you'd like. No. I think he's being told. I don't think Adam's going to have a choice any longer. This is who we are, attack. I'll take my chances. Yep. And I said this before the year started, Tom, and I'm going to reiterate it now because I think it's the way we have to play. It's the way we're best suited to play. It's also the smartest way to play. You attack and play aggressive, knowing that you're going to give up some big plays, including some long touchdowns from time to time, because that's what happens when you're overly aggressive and you get caught in singles. It can happen. It's all right. But you're also going to create extra possessions by forcing turnovers. You're going to create avalanche scenarios where you create turnovers early in a game and your offense starts humming, and now you're up 21, and you can predict what the other team's doing, and this becomes a fun brand of football. Not one that necessarily dominates every game and holds people under 17 points, but one that services the offense and creates turnovers and more possessions at a time where you need more possessions because the game has been shortened. So I think Florida State's going to come out playing that way from this point forward. That is the great thing that the contest that we've won so far revealed to us, that doing this other stuff where you sit back too high shell and keep everything in front, it's not who we are. We don't play zone very well. We don't need to play very well. We don't need to play that style, and we need to be much more aggressive from a blitzing standpoint.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that on every play you call man-to-man and every play. It's just, I think that's an important distinction. Like, I've been tongue-in-cheek of you blitz every play. Just do it. Put guys on an island.
Yeah.
But, everything you do defensively has a drawback. And what you're talking about is correct. Explosive plays against. If that blitz doesn't get home, then you're exposed and something's going to be wide the hell open. And then the other thing is if it's 3rd and 6 and you're bringing pressure and you're man-to-man, you're going to get beat on a slant from time to time. It happened against Clemson, and people are saying, why are we getting killed on slants? Well, that's the drawback. It's if you don't get home immediately, then it's a guy one-on-one in isolation. He might give up inside leverage. It's an easy catch. Or if he misses that tackle, that could go a long way too. Everything you do gives something up and is vulnerable to something. But we totally agree here. We said this before the LSU game. Give the offense the ball back as many times as you can. Create short fields. And if they have a 2-play drive for 65 yards and a touchdown, well, that's good in the moment for them, but it's not good over the long haul for the opponent because that means we have that much more chance, that much more time on the clock to put the offense out there.
Let's see how many more people that get involved starting this week in this offense. It just can't be the Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson show. They got to get other people involved here and have a little bit more balance. I think they will. That'll be fun to watch. That's why I'm intrigued to see us play this weekend. I think I know what I'm going to get from the defense, but I'm really excited to see what the offense does. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Hey guys, our next partner is AG1, the daily foundational nutritional supplement that supports whole body health. I drink it quite literally every single day. I began using AG1 because I'll be honest with you, I don't like to take a bunch of pills and vitamins, and I just wanted something that tastes great, was quick, and easy to remember. So I do it. I do it every morning when I wake up. I certainly have it right after my coffee and before I work out. And I will tell you this too, it is a simple, effective investment for your health. You can try AG1 and get 5 free AG1 travel packs and a free 1-year supply of vitamin D with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/JCS. Again, that's all you got to do is go to drinkag1.com/JCS. That's drinkag1.com/JCS. Check it out. It's delicious. It's quick. It's easy. It's proven. Vitamins, probiotics, whole food source nutrients. Start your day with it. You'll feel better. I promise.
850-777-7777, and we'll make sure you come back stronger.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee. All right, where do I go over here to the camera thing? Hit the strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
I'm Stephanie, and I work for Paul's Termite and Pest Control. I've been working here for over 11 years, and to say making the switch to Paul's has been life-changing is an understatement. First, we provide a service that truly helps people protect the health of their families and pets from disease-carrying bugs and rodents, plus their homes from destructive termites. So when I go to work every day, what I do really makes a difference. Second, I have grown professionally in the company. I was hired by Paul's in customer service, and now I'm the customer service leader. While my responsibilities have grown, so have my pay and benefits. It's such a blessing to work with friends doing something that helps people, plus being well paid. If you're in a job that provides minimal pay and satisfaction, we have openings right now. Paul's employees receive many benefits like CHP, 401k, paid vacations, and holidays. We work Monday through Friday and provide extensive training so no experience is required. Call today to learn how we can improve your life.
Clean, renewable energy means fresher air, healthier residents, new green jobs, and a stronger, more resilient community. How we get there is up to you. Share your input today to help shape the Tallahassee of tomorrow. Take the Clean Energy Survey at taugov.com.
This is Dr. James Ryan Finn at Finn Chiropractic. In Florida, we have hurricanes, and we can predict these storms, just like we can predict your health. The early warning signs of a bad health storm include neck pain, back pains, headaches. Before it turns into a catastrophic Cat 5, get in to let us get to the cause of your problem at Finn Chiropractic. Go to finnchiro.com for our online special at FENNCHIRO.com. That's Finn Chiropractic, FENNCHIRO.com, because your chiropractor loves you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Y'all want more energy, more strength, more results? Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed,
Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Good Monday, everybody. Really quickly, do want to I made a mistake there. I think I said that was a bye. It's not a bye. Georgia and Kentucky is this weekend, so that's good news. All right, let's go. Let's go. Great games. I do wonder, Gregory Moran brought this up in the chat that perceptions are going to be the reality here. Somebody is going to get left out, though, per our larger conversation. You can see a scenario because there is no great team this year, it doesn't feel like, where a bunch of people are one-loss teams, and we are beginning to wonder.
Yeah, there are a lot of times where that conversation is had, and we say, well, what does it matter? Alabama or Ohio State or Clemson's going to win. So there's just this nether region of the fourth team that's going to get blown out. You know, it's most years of the college football playoff, but not this year because there is no Alabama or Clemson or vintage, any one of those programs, Georgia, where you say everybody else is playing for second. So this conversation about who is fourth is going to matter greatly. And I think also the location of the game, that's going to matter for how many fans can travel out to the West Coast if it's a Pac-12 team or if they've got to go to New Orleans across the country, because the other part of this, and this is the fun decisions that hopefully we'll be able to make here, where do you put your eggs in terms of the basket? If you've only got so many dollars, do you go to the semifinal game or do you go to and hold out hope for Houston in the national championship? Like all of these little things are going to matter because I think the margin is that thin from number 1 to probably number 6 or 7 as they make the final selections in early December.
you're going to end up assessing who you think. I mean, bottom line is, if you look at a game and you think you're going to win it and thus make it to the championship game, you're not going to that game if you can only go to one. So you'll wait if you think we're going to win that game. If you don't think we're going to win that game and that one playoff game is the one you're going to play in, you're going to that game.
Yeah.
I think that's one way of assessing it. There are some matchups. It's interesting doing this right now, Tom. I was sitting there thinking on Saturday night as I watched this all play out, and I'm watching Washington struggle, and I saw Georgia struggle, and I was thinking about that LSU win being diminished, and I was thinking about who we are, and then I was thinking about all the different teams, right? And that got me to thinking, well, if I had a vote, who would I rank number one? Because we can bitch and whine about everybody else's choices, but what would I do in this situation? Because I think we're really good, but I don't know that I think we look like the best team in the country. And so then I thought, well, who would you pick? Here's a better way of doing it. Who would you pick right now? Because that's a very different discussion. If I tell you that Florida State's wins suggest that they have to be ranked 1 or 2 based on resume, you might get a lot of people to universally agree with that. Yeah. What you would have a harder time doing is getting somebody to agree with you about the wins and losses regarding certain matchups. So if I said to you, would Florida State beat on a neutral field so-and-so? Mm-hmm. How many teams right now, I wonder, I'm talking out loud here because I did this in my head. I'm kind of curious how many teams Florida State fans would take over Florida State based on what we've seen from those teams and what we've seen from our team. Not the resume so far. The resume is, again, probably universally lauded. They have 2 of the better wins in the country. But who would you take in certain matchups? And it gets weird because in certain matchups, if you just go by tradition, you might say, boy, I don't really like that matchup. They recruited better over the last 5 years. They got a deeper roster. They've been a better program than us for the last 4 years. You might pick that team, but not this year. So, for example, I'm not sure Georgia is beating Florida State right now.
Correct.
And yet Florida State might not beat Kentucky right now.
The Kentucky example is an interesting one.
See what I mean, though? Like, it's just – I'm talking about matchups.
Yeah. Look, I think Texas stock has risen.
Sure.
As you're looking at things that flesh out and the transitive of when you beat somebody, how you beat somebody, their resume got more impressive, but they played a backup quarterback. And there were a lot of big plays that they would have given up if you had somebody who had half, an accurate arm in that situation instead of Bean. So I think it's a shootout with Texas if we play Texas. It's obviously, USC can't stop anybody, so I'm not worried about them. Washington, I'm whatever on. Oregon's interesting. I think Oregon is an interesting team. Want to see what they do when they play teams with a pulse and not Colorado. That'll be fun. I don't know. Maybe 1, maybe 2 teams that you would definitively take over Florida State, but I'm stretching to get to 1 or 2. I think you've got a lot of coin flips here. But if you're picking a field of 4 at this moment, Florida State has to be in the field of 4.
Oh, they would be in the field of 4 right now. I wouldn't argue against that. I just find it fascinating. There are teams, as we watch this season go on, where I go, that's not a good matchup for us. It could be a 1-loss team. Could be a 2-loss team where I'd be like, I don't like that matchup. Our resume's better, but I don't like that matchup. And there are other teams whose resume is equal to ours, if not close to it, that I'm like, well, no, I like us there. I think we'd win that game. So it's fascinating. But this is what we've always wanted. Like I got really down on college football for about a 4-year window. In terms of my enthusiasm going into each season, I'm always going to be excited to watch college football. It's a sport I love. I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about the Noles, and we talk about it. It's a fun job. It's a fun conversation, and it's one that we all look forward to year-round. We can't wait for football to come back. So I need to kind of quantify this a little bit. I was disappointed that we were getting to a place where competitive balance in college football was really, really weak. You just had maybe at the start of any given year 4 teams that could win a national title, maybe any given year. And it was bad for a while there where you're like, I'm not even sure it's 4. We may be down to 3. Name me 2 teams not named Alabama during that stretch, right? It was getting tough. You could name Ohio State. There was a stretch where you could name Clemson. And then it just got weak. Like, you didn't really believe in Notre Dame. Nobody ever does. I still don't. You really didn't believe that Oklahoma was going to win it as much as I wanted them to. I didn't think they could because they don't play defense, or they didn't. There wasn't really anybody else. You weren't like, because at that point, Georgia hadn't gotten to be what they are now. So you were just kind of like, man, I don't know. And this is so much better for fans, I think, and for all of us who each weekend now understand that a lot can happen. All the good teams have looked bad. All the bad teams have had moments where they've looked good. And then you have all this parity where you're just sitting around going, I don't know, man. It's a fun year where matchups are everything.
Agreed. And Zyler in the chat says this is a perfect year for a 12-team playoff. Couldn't agree more. If you had the 12-team playoff, it would be so awesome this year because the top 4 get a bye, and let's just go by the AP poll. We'd be playing Oklahoma here in Tallahassee in the playoff. Penn State would host Alabama. What a uniform game that would be. Washington hosts Notre Dame, and Oregon plays USC. Like, that would be the first weekend of the college football playoff.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
It's not going to happen, however. So
I know. I'm just saying, this is where I think in most years, as we move forward with a 12-team playoff, that wild card weekend, if you will, if you want to call it that, the opening weekend, there'll be 3 or 4 sure things, in terms of who wins it. And I get it. There'd be a group of 5 team in here, conference champion, that would muddle up the works between 5 and 12 if you're doing that opening weekend. But just the exercise this year is so up in the air. I'm looking forward over the next month to see 2 things. The ACC teams sorted themselves out with Miami playing North Carolina, Clemson doing the same. Florida State obviously gets Miami next month. But then the Pac-12 matchups. I mean, it starts in 2 weeks. Florida State got 6-day optioned today with the Syracuse home kick. We don't know. It's going to be either noon or 7:30. But that night, you have USC and Oregon. And this week, you have Oregon, Washington. And then you've got USC and Oregon upcoming. I mean, that Pac-12 mess is going to be so much fun to sort out over the next month.
Oddly, the second half of the Colorado Southern Cal game is about the most impressed I've been yet with Colorado. Mm-hmm. I wasn't impressed at all in their early season wins against nobodies. They looked terrible against Colorado State. Should have lost that game. I thought that obviously they got brutalized. They weren't even remotely competitive against Oregon. That wasn't a competitive football game. That looked like children playing men. And so, I just didn't have anything for Colorado. The second half of that game, they showed an awful lot on offense and an awful lot of heart. Now, I know Southern Cal's defense is terrible every effing year, and it is awful again this year. But that game was a blowout at halftime. It looked like rinse and repeat from the week prior, now that they were playing real teams. And they came all the way back and had a legitimate shot. That was impressive. I still think they're going to lose 5 or 6 games, but I think it was pretty impressive.
It was. And again, just to clean up. So in 2 weeks' time, you have USC and Notre Dame and then Oregon, Washington. I mean, if you're just trying to eliminate teams or put more stock into a group, you've got so many weeks like this. Most seasons there's 1 park your ass Saturday, maybe 2 if you stretch it. But this year, because of the parity, every weekend and every time window has a game where you go, well, I mean, they've got a path. Next week, the other game that's 6-day option with us is North Carolina and Miami. So they're either going to be a noon kick or a 7:30 kick. Both of those teams have to like their chances, those fan bases, that they have a path to get to the playoff, and they wouldn't be wrong to do so because this is the year.
Yeah, but then they just need to remember that they haven't ever mattered in 25 years or 23 years. So go back and remember that surely there's an unexpected loss coming your way, guys.
Oh, that's the correct logic. That is correct.
I didn't want them to get too high on all that bluster you just gave them.
Well, no, but if you're going to lie to yourself, 2023 is the year to lie to yourself. 100%.
Sure. Yeah, because you can make weird cases. I mean, again, people can get mad if they want to, but you can make weird cases for us. Again, styles make fights. You can look at certain things and say, well, we wouldn't match up well against this team, but we really match up against this team and they're higher ranked. It's just strange. But that's the joy of this season. That was the larger point I was getting to. Not who you think is great, not who I think is great, not who's going to upset this or that. We make these bets every week on Redemption Thursday. We have fun with these every week. We can make our bets and we'll see who's right more often than not. By the way, another player prop cashed. Man, 7 of 8, baby. Tom, this is getting silly.
PPC, player prop Cameron.
On Thursday, when I did the recorded show, you were out of town. Mm-hmm. And I said at the end of that show, I said, well, we're just going straight spreads. We're doing nothing abnormal today with picks. I shouldn't do that, by the way, because I cost myself dearly. I went 4-6. And the thing is, in my real life, I bet USC Colorado first half over because I was worried about a backdoor cover. Well, first half over was easy, and first half cover was minus 11.5. That was easy. Those are the bets I just need to stick with. Anyhow, so the point is, I said at the end, oh, guys, I forgot to do a player prop for everybody, and I had meant to do that. And the reason I'd meant to do that was because we were on a roll, and, you don't mess around with a streak. You got to do the right thing when you have a streak going. And so I did a player prop, and it hit by I think I might have beat it by 7 yards. And that's now 7 of 8. The only player prop I've missed this year was the first one. I've hit everyone since then. So my bottom line is I'm going to bet $20,000 on next week's player prop, everybody. Let's go.
Was it AJ Brown who was somehow wide the hell open and in the witching hour yesterday?
So, by the way, and I find this fascinating, but it's a reminder of why we all have to take a deep breath and remind ourselves that our coaches aren't the dumbest coaches in the world, even at times when we think they are. And here's what I mean. How many times over the weekend, combined college or pro football, did we watch a 3rd and forever get completed and or converted because they rushed 3? I watched this happen in the Notre Dame game. I watched it happen last night in the Kansas City game. I saw it happen in 2 in the afternoon games, 1 o'clock in the afternoon games, where the team that needs the stop has put them in a 3rd and 18 position. And these are professionals. And you're watching this happen, and some dude who could barely run is scampering for 19 and getting out of bounds. And you're like, I could hear our fans going, damn it, Fuller! You suck, Adam Fuller. I'm like, well, go say that to their pro defensive coordinator and that pro defensive coordinator, and go say that to Elko, who's the best defensive coach in football, and go say that to everybody else who gave up 3rd and 16 over the weekend, because it happened over and over and over again.
Yeah, and you know what? It happened a week ago in the Clemson game, and it was massive. 3rd and goal from the 7. Remember, it was the fake screen to the outside to Keon. He comes over the middle. He's wide open. They rushed 3.
Yeah.
Guys, what are we doing? I'm like, thank you. Thank you very much. That's one hell of a call. I love that call. You rushed 3. Give us all day. But they get so scared of themselves. Coaches get so scared of their own shadow.
It happened over and over and over again. And there were defensive I'm watching Washington. The effing Commanders go right down the field on Philadelphia at the end of that game. The whole world knows what's coming, and they give that up over and over and over again. I'm like, man, Philadelphia's defense doesn't suck. Duke's defense doesn't suck. We can keep doing this over and over, but I watched it happen all day. So just deep breaths, everybody. Now, I'm not saying we turn the other way if we have a hard time doing something week in and week out. I am saying it's prevalent across the board that you see defensive coordinators do exactly what you said. They're like, I'm going to sit back. It's 3rd and 18. Let's just keep it in front of us. Nobody get beat over the top.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, some quarterbacks hauling ass for 18.
Yeah, I don't want to make the big mistake. So you're going to make the big mistake. That's, yeah.
Over and over and over again. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
in West Tallahassee that occurred more than an hour apart Monday. Both home invasions took place early Monday morning and both turned violent after shots were fired. The Leon County Sheriff's Office found a 25-year-old man shot and injured at a home on the 4600 block of Cypress Point Road around 1 a.m. About an hour and a half later, a Tallahassee police officer was shot while responding to a separate home invasion on the 2300 block of Sandpiper Street. The crimes took place about 10 miles apart on the west side of the capital city. At the time, authorities said the two incidents were not linked, but Friday evening, LCSO shared in a press release that an investigation into physical evidence and witness interviews led detectives to identify the Cypress Point Road suspect as 25-year-old John Darius Wright. Wright was also arrested and charged for the officer shooting on Sandpiper Street. This is Rachel Anay with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Ample sunshine expected this afternoon with highs around 86. Northeast winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Clear skies again tonight. Lows level off around 63. Tomorrow, high of 85. Upper 80s Wednesday and Thursday. To recap, a high of 86 this afternoon. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 83.
Let's be honest, we all have way too much stuff. Maybe your storage closet is full, your garage is full, or the guest bedroom is a mess. Call Southeast Portable Buildings, 580-6400, or visit them online at southeastportablebuildings.com.
Your next chance to splash into some cash with Swain Pools and Spas to win $1,000 is coming up at 2 p.m. Listen out for the keyword, and all you got to do is text the keyword for a chance to win $1,000.
So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu. Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the bungalow chungla, as I call it.
The bungalow chung, Jeff?
Is that, what is the pork?
The bungalow chung, Jeff.
Okay, the bungalow chungla. It's delicious. All these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But, sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of that nobody would know and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.
It's Jeff Cameron Show. Good Monday, everybody. Thanks for coming on board. 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV, and on Twitter at J Cameron Show. Man, don't you hate it when we're in the middle of doing the show, Tom, and I get this notice from my bank? My bank's like, hey, man, somebody's trying to charge $28.87. Did you do this? No, I didn't. But I'm in the middle of doing a radio show, so we're going to have to worry about this afterwards.
What was the charge for?
It says, I just looked it up online. Hey, maybe you guys out there can tell me. Spartan Value Store charge. I don't know what that is.
Did it say what town? Sometimes it'll give you the ad.
I didn't have time during the break. I just now looked down here and saw that the Spartan Value Store is trying to charge me $28.07. My guess is this is going to be an online thing where the you know how like if you buy a shirt, like you say you want a golf shirt, and it's like, 2 putts golf. And you're like, oh, I like that 2 putts golf shirt. I'm going to wear that one. And I click on it and buy it. Well, when you get the bill for 2 putts golf, it comes back as something completely different. It's not 2 putts golf. It's the Spartan Value Store, or it's whatever the hell. And that's what I suspect this is going to be. But maybe somebody in the chat will be like, oh, yes, you're all over it, Jeff. The Spartan Value Store is going to screw you. They robbed me of $7,000 last week. Or they're going to say, no, you're good, Jeff. Spartan Value Store, you must have ordered some golf balls or a tennis racket or something. Who knows? So, you got to let me know because I have no idea what the Spartan Value Store is.
When's the last time you bought a tennis racket?
20 years ago.
Did you go to the Sports Authority?
No, I bought it from the pro shop at a country club that I used to play at.
Nice.
So,
I miss the Sports Authority. That was one of the finest smelling stores in history.
Yeah, it's funny, the stores that you can remember for smells. I used to love the smell of Walden Books.
Oh, yeah.
Walden Books, buddy. You walk in there like, yes, love it. And really any record store. I'm always big fan. You always know who's running things. Spartan Value Store just got $30,000 of free advertising. I don't know what the Spartan Value Store is. I could be telling everybody that they're thieves. I don't know what to tell you. So now I'm a little worried about it, but we'll figure it out at the top of the hour. I did want to say this, all jokes aside, man, I was really sad. Speaking of our youth, seeing a Tim Wakefield pass.
Oh.
Really bothered me on a lot of levels. First of all, he's only 57. I'm 52, so that hit home. That scares you to no end. If you think about this, my man, he started with the Pirates, and his story is incredible. The Pirates took him, Tom. I don't know if a lot of people know this. I'll just get this out there. The Pirates took him as a first baseman. He had played first base and third base in college. And I think he played at the Florida Institute of Technology. That's where he played his high school ball or his college ball. And he had a year where he hit like 22 home runs, and they thought he was an offensive weapon. So the Pirates took him. He hit below 200 in like low A ball. He couldn't hit at all. And they were getting ready to release him. And they had a conversation about what to do with him, as one would when somebody's hitting 180 in A ball and really struggling, no power. And one of the coaches for the Pirates, I think it was in Savannah, said that they noticed baseball players love to throw the knuckleball. They love to have a good time just throwing the knuckleball, right? And they're always practicing. And coaches have seen this over the years. They'll watch guys throw knuckles and they'll laugh at it. But this particular coach said when he saw Wakefield do it, he was like, that has a little life weight to it. That's got a little something to it that's different than these other guys just fooling around throwing a knuckler. But he didn't tell anybody about it until they had the meeting, right? And so they have the meeting and they're talking about releasing him and how much longer are they going to give him. And he goes, guys, you can't release him until I see him pitch. I want to give him a chance to pitch for us. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And he's like, no, seriously. I saw it's got late life to it. It moves late. And I'm telling you, I think he's going to be pretty good. So they're about to cut him. They say, you know what? We want you to pitch. Wakefield hasn't thrown a knuckler since he was throwing it with his dad in the front yard. He used to throw it with his dad over and over and over again. And then on the side when he'd warm up every now and then. So he's like, I've not done this in a game since I was a little kid. They're like, well, this is your last shot to play baseball, professional baseball. So get on the mound and try it. And he was pretty successful early on, and then they refined it some. And the next thing you know, he was really good, and he's pitching in the Pirates playoff games back in the 90s. And it's crazy. So the Pirates end up giving up on him, eventually realizing, like, listen, this guy's never going to be like a 15-game winner or something like that for us on the mound. We're going to release him. So they do after he'd won 14 games for the Pirates, and the Red Sox pick him up. He ends up staying there for 17 seasons. He won 186 games for them, some of the most important games, too. He also 8 innings time and again to rest their staff, and he would volunteer to do it, including in the infamous comeback against the Yankees in which they were down 3-0. That third game, they get roughed up, and he volunteers, turns to Tito and says, I'll pitch the rest of the way. I don't care if I give up 15 runs. You got to save all the arms you can for our comeback. Yep. He says, yes, he goes out there. He does get roughed up, but they just keep pitching him. He's got a rubber arm. It's a knuckleball. It's not wear and tear. And then they come back and they win the whole thing. And we all know that story. The players loved him. He also volunteered for countless charities. Ironically, he did a ton in Boston for cancer centers and children's cancer facilities. And to hear about him getting cancer, brain cancer at that, and how quickly it happened. I think they said 3 days after he was diagnosed. Truly tragic. He ended up finishing his career, Tom. I don't know if a lot of people know this, as the third winningest pitcher in Boston Red Sox history, by the way. And he has 200 total wins for his career. Like that's not nothing. That's not nothing. But an even greater guy, apparently. Made me sad to hear that over the weekend.
Yeah, I saw his most infamous pitch, which was Aaron Boone, first pitch of the 11th inning in 2003. And that game featured, it was a who's who of guys that were on the mound. Pedro started against Roger Clemens.
Well, that was the mistake that they made in that game by letting him keep going. And then, the whole thing unraveled. I love that Boston never blamed him, by the way. He had pitched a scoreless inning the inning before. Yep. And they left him out there, and he gives up the home run to Boone. The thing is, the next year, by the way, at one of the I guess baseball dinners that the Red Sox had that fans could come to before the start of the season, this is another famous story about Wakefield. He always felt like a goat for doing that. Like the whole offseason, he contemplated like leaving the team and retiring. He thought he let the city of Boston down. They gave him a standing ovation as if to let him know, hey, man, and wasn't your bad. We blew that game earlier in the day. Don't worry, it wasn't your fault. And he started crying up at the dais. He was about to give a speech, and the fans wouldn't stop cheering. It's beautiful, man. Beautiful. Baseball does that.
It does that. And, for that 04 team, redemption in so many ways. He felt all offseason terribly about it. They come back in historic fashion, but that was a night that, in sports, I'll never forget that. Unfortunately, it's not watching my own team play, but just, when you've got Clemens and Pedro and Mariano Rivera, David Wells pitched in the game, Mike Messina, and then Tim Wakefield threw the final pitch. He was just a part of so many pivotal moments. That's 20 years ago in 2 weeks, October 16th, 2003. It's 20 years from that moment. Unbelievable.
That seems impossible, and how much time has gone by. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I will just say that is the other sad part of this story is they do have I know he has a daughter. I think he has maybe 2 kids. I'm not sure, maybe 1, but his wife has cancer too.
Yeah.
Brutal. That's just, it makes you appreciate being here, right? It makes you appreciate the people you love, makes you appreciate the fact that we get to come on the air every day and talk about sports and get to talk about these games and talk about going to a game this Saturday. In fact, this is one of those games, Tom, where this Saturday I get an opportunity to sit in the stands with the whole family. We're all going. And we're going to make it a family thing instead of me being in the box or whatever. So it'll be fun this weekend. So my wife rarely goes to games, but she's going to this one too. So
it'll be a nice pregame atmosphere too. We're Indigo from 12:30 to 2:30 on Saturday. Indigo gets that western sun, that setting sun. Doesn't happen from 12:30 to 2:30. That's going to be a nice breeze up top, buddy. It's going to feel like football, just like these mornings have in the last few days.
By the way, Breeze Frey, I knew that was coming, and I'm glad you made that joke. And I saw several others make something similar there. That's good. That's well played. But I do want to know what this is. And so as we go to break, I'm going to find out why the hell I've been charged by Spartan Value Company. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Hour number 2, forthcoming.
This is Thomas Dickens from the Law Office of Marie Maddox. I'm a combat veteran and a former JAG. I've fought for our country, and now I fight to get you your back wages. If your boss has ever shorted your paycheck or withheld your overtime, you need to call me now. 850-383-4800. 850-383-4800. Or find us online at maddoxlaw.com. Offices in Tallahassee.
When your AC unit decides to give up the ghost, it doesn't always pick the best time. But no matter what time, day or night, or day of the week, you can call E&B Heating and Air Conditioning. We'll be out to bring your AC unit back to life. We've been repairing and replacing heating and air conditioning systems in the North Florida and South Georgia area since 1974. So when your air conditioner stops working, call E&B Heating and Air Conditioning to the rescue.
So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the bungalow chungla, as I call it.
The bungalow chung, Jeff?
Is that, what is the pork?
The bungalow chung, Jeff.
Okay, the bungalow chungla. It's delicious. All these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But, sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of that nobody would know and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Widden Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Widden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Widden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Widden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Widden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat-screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Don't go anywhere. Your chance to win $1,000 is coming up next on Real Talk 93.3 WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee.
This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Jacksonville Jaguars win 23-7 over the Atlanta Falcons at Wembley Stadium in London. The Jaguars were 3.5-point favorites. They remain in London. They'll play at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this week against the Buffalo Bills. Bills are the 5-point favorite, 48.5 the total. College football coming up on Saturday. The Florida Gators laying 18 at home at Vanderbilt, total 54 at the Swamp. Florida State back in action out of the bye week, 25.5-point home favorites against Virginia Tech. Tampa Bay tomorrow, game one of their AL wild card, $1.48 favorite against the Rangers at home. Get your free VSiN subscription right now at VSIN.com. For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
Yo, J Balvin here. Verizon just hooked me up with a new iPhone 15 Pro with titanium. How can you get one? By switching to my plan at the Verizon store, get the amazing new iPhone 15 Pro on them. When you trade in any iPhone, any model, any condition, guaranteed. Now listen to my new song, Dientes, on your way to get the new iPhone 15 Pro.
Don't miss out. Switch to my plan from Verizon today. It's your Verizon. $999.99, 128 gigabyte only device payment purchase or full retail purchase with new smartphone line and unlimited ultimate plan required. Less $1,000 trade-in or promo credit applied over 36 months. Promo credit ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. 0% APR.
Join Macy's and Hispanic Federation to support student growth and mentoring during Hispanic Heritage Month. Now through October 15th, help empower students to grow into leaders when you donate online to Hispanic Federation or round up your Macy's store purchase up to 99 cents and donate the extra change. Give back today, shop Latino and Hispanic-owned brands, and find out how we're creating brighter futures for all at Macy's.com/purpose.
I'm Caleb. I'm the lawn supervisor at Paul's Termite and Pest Control, and I really do love my job. Paul's has created an incredible work environment that always puts our customers' needs first. Their needs are our concerns, and my particular job of improving the health of North Florida lawns is something I truly enjoy. I'm an outdoor person, and I get to be outside all day, watching the lawns run through the stages full of weeds to weedless to lush, grass-filled landscapes is very rewarding. I'm proud to represent Paul's.
I'm Jay. Having the privilege to work with people like Caleb and all of our employees is truly an honor. There is no doubt that the staff of Paul's Termite and Pest Control is the best in our industry. All of our people are local, and local really does mean something. We are North Floridians. Our kids go to school here. We shop here. We build relationships here, and we honor our commitments. To all of our customers, thanks for trusting us to protect your family, pets, and home.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too, call Paul's. We'll get them all.
It's time to splash into cash with Swain Pools and Spas. Here is your next keyword.
Hotel, H-O-T-E-L. Hotel, H-O-T-E-L, hotel.
Text that keyword now to 508-777-1000. That's 508-777-1000 for your chance to win $1,000. Sponsored by Swain Pools and Spas.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV. We're live. I am home. Tom is home. Matthew's in the studio, but we're live and we're good to go. So if you're in the chat, we're here. We can see you. And if you're listening around town, it may sound a little different. I don't know, but we are here and we're good to be back. Glad to be back. Actually, very intrigued. I mentioned this last hour. I'm fascinated to see what kind of game Florida State plays this weekend. I suspect, to you, Tom, that this is going to be a solid effort. We're going to feel good. Because if not, I think we have very, very good reasons to be extremely concerned.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where if the first quarter is a little bit disjointed, you're coming off of a bye week. I don't know that it has anything to do with attention to detail. So I'll give you a pass out of a bye if you come away, from your second drive a little clunky. But the coaching staff has talked about, wanting to improve on last year's response to 4-0. Because they did start 4-0 a season ago. So they have yet another talking point that they can hammer home with the players of, we've done this before. Now let's go do something different. I am interested to hear the practice reports from this week, but last week it was impressive. They didn't just, kick back, relax, and do nothing at practice. So I think that edge is going to be part of what's going on here. They're going to be happy to be home too. One home game, and we're going to be into, October 6th, 7th territory. You get 3 in a row here. This is how you get right. This is how you get in a rhythm. I think they're going to be excited to play.
If they play well in these remaining games, I mean, if you think about the situation, Miami has to come here. That will be a raucous atmosphere. Florida State's just straight up much better than both Virginia Tech and Syracuse. You should take care of business in those games. You look at the schedule as a whole. Now Florida's offense is as woeful as they thought it was going to be. And, this is a group that got beat up front on the offensive and defensive line this past weekend against Kentucky. So maybe they're not even decent. I thought they'd be decent. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Now that I'm watching them drop 14 points against Kentucky, that's problematic. Apparently his press conference, Napier's press conference, was a little testy today. I'm like, yes, let it happen. Let it get a little unruly down there in Hogtown. It'd be beautiful. So hopefully they're, fending off a crash at this point. But you really can see the path to remaining undefeated and playing that ACC championship game. I just want that attention to detail to be better. I want Jordan Travis to play better. I think he can be a lot better than he was through these first 4 games. One of the things when you go back and look at those 4 games, there are moments in time where he's sharp, and then there are stretches where he doesn't play well. And sometimes when I bring that up, people get a little testy, but you can win a game going away and still not play well because you make a bunch of poor decisions that your athleticism allows you to overcome, or another player makes a play for you because his athleticism is greater than that of the player going against him, but not because you made the right throw or the right decision or the right read.
Yeah, I mean, you heard at the top of the hour that the number for this week, it's around 26, give or take. That's what Vegas thinks about the spread. So in a situation like that, often we will, and with a veteran team like Florida State, often the talking point would be they're going to be vanilla today and you're not going to learn a whole lot. You can still learn a lot in this game, even in this spot with that kind of a number, because I want to know what our base is. What is our base offense? What is our offensive identity? What do the coaching staff look at over the course of the bye week and say, this is what we need to be about? We need to be X, which it could be 4 wide the whole time, or 4 pass targets the whole time. It could be 5 wide and empty more often. It could be that they want to run a little bit different. Maybe not as much counter as in years past. Maybe there are personnel changes. Mike Norvell said today in the press conference that Robert Scott and Akeem Dent are close to coming back. That's big news in the offensive line, both places really, but especially on the offensive line. What do we want to be moving forward? We got by, kind of stuck between offensively, boom or bust. But how do we get to consistent? How do we get to 5 yards and 6 yards on first down so that we're not in 3rd and long as much? How do you get there? And what does Mike Norvell, what does Alex Atkins say about what they want this offense to be? So this is a cool spot because typically you wouldn't learn much, but I think you can learn a lot about Florida State this weekend, given what they self-scouted during the bye week.
I just don't think that Mike is ever going to give in to the idea that they can't run the ball. I know that it may be, and I've called for this a little bit, I think that you can play tempo and spread people out and have 4 really difficult matchups on the field at any given time, maybe 5, and play fast and throw the ball and be an efficient offense, throwing the ball first and foremost and running off of that after you wear people down and build a lead. But I just don't think Mike wants to do that. But he's going to need his quarterback to read it better. He's going to need his quarterback to make better decisions and more accurate passes. And he's going to have to run his quarterback at some point. And I think when that happens, this offense hums. When it doesn't, it doesn't. Period. It's that simple. When Jordan's running the ball, I actually think this is going to sound strange, and I have no correlating evidence, so I could be talking out of my butt. I always feel like Jordan Travis throws the ball better when he's also a willing participant in the run game. I feel he becomes a much more complete quarterback and player and involved and focused player at the position when he's also involved in the running game. When he's just chucking it and not utilizing his legs or can't, if he's hurt or whatever it might be, I think he struggles a little bit.
Well, that's a new thing. This offense is comprised in a different way. His first year as the starter or as a part-time starter, nobody could catch a pass. Nobody could win a one-on-one. It got better last year. It got even better this year. It's funny. It's like, following a basketball team, and it looks great when everybody's making the shots. They're the greatest team. If Jordan was more accurate with his downfield passing, we wouldn't be talking about this. We'd be talking about how he's this year's Max Duggan, who threw the ball 20-plus yards down the field over 18% of the time. Yeah. Basically, 1 in 5 throws were bombs. And these are one-on-one matchups that he's throwing to. Is there a better option for Jordan? Absolutely. There's a lot of open things underneath that we've seen through the first 4 games. Don't get me wrong. But if he's more accurate with his downfield passing, and a lot of these throws are outside the numbers, which is his best throw, I don't know that we're talking about it quite as much. But the good thing is that when you're trying to become a team that is going to make the college football playoff and be elite, it's the details that set you apart. And we haven't been that great in the details yet. And that's where they've got to clean it up.
No, we haven't. And I'll tell you, even if he was more accurate with his downfield throws, I wouldn't like the base for that offense to be that.
Sure.
I don't want that. I don't think that helps our running game at all. And I believe you'll face a team that has a good secondary at some point, and that becomes a really low percentage play, even with good receivers. And then you're screwed. So that's not what our offense should be. I know what you're saying, but that just should not be our offense.
Yeah, agreed. I'm not saying that I aspire for the Jeff Bowden offense to be a thing. I'm just saying that we would be talking about it less if he was as accurate through 4 games as he was in camp, and maybe that speaks to him not being 100%. But these aren't throws that he hasn't made before with consistency. So we'll see. I agree, though. I'd like to see chunk plays over the middle, quick passes where you get Destin Hill in a one-on-one. Remember that kid? He's been a unicorn. Then he arrived, and now he's gone again. And does he exist? But you get a guy like that in a one-on-one, or a Jaheim Bell, they break a tackle and they go house call it. That's what Keon Coleman did for the first touchdown of the season, was a short pass he took to the house.
Yeah, he makes a guy miss, breaks a tackle, and he's gone. And, he's that kind of player. So is Jaheim Brown. And I just don't know, or Bell. I just don't know why we haven't seen that. And it's interesting because I think the very thing that I lauded Jordan Travis for a year ago was when he started attacking the seams and started reading that consistently well, and married that to his legs, and you had the ability to attack all parts of the football field, which really made us very difficult to defend down the stretch. We became so versatile in the ways that we attacked your defense, and you had to really worry about defending the whole field. And that's when this offense hums. And now you've got the players to do it. Now you got guys that could really exploit those matchups if they get in single coverage. And so I'm very surprised. I feel like this was a good bye week for more than just health. I think Mike needed to look in the mirror a little bit, and needed to have a sit down with Jordan, needed to talk about it with Alex, and kind of figure out, what do we want to be? And frankly, he's had to have probably a very serious conversation with Alex Atkins about what they can be. Based on what he sees as the offensive line strengths. Alex, are we changing up personnel here? Are we getting Byers off the field to tackle? Because he's been terrible. It's interesting to talk about what they'll do with those guys.
Yeah, R. Wilmer says, what's our first down efficiency? And it's not good. It's not good enough. You're not in 2nd and 4. Like, how often are you in 2nd and 2 or 2nd and 4? And with this offense, it should be something that happens more often. But I will say, the middle of the field for the tight ends should be much more open moving forward, because Clemson's linebackers are no longer on the schedule. And they were really, really good.
We're not attacking the seams against Boston College, and their linebackers aren't really, really, really good.
Yeah. Not with consistency. But Jaheim did get that touchdown that wasn't called a touchdown, and it exists. It's there, but it could be there a whole lot more often, because it's such an easy throw. Like, Jordan, let them do the work for you. Let them go out and get in the open field, my man. You don't have to make the perfect throw 40 yards down the field. We've got guys that can make 3 dudes miss. That's the point of having a collective like we do and bringing in players like we do.
That is the point of having a collective like the Battle's in, bringing in talent, retaining talent. You get to where you look around the country. We're talking about the balance, the competitive balance that we see. And I think you get to a place now where you're almost like an amateur GM because of the era we're watching. You and I get to sit back just like every other fan and go, all right, what are we going to need in the portal next year? It's like it's the draft.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, okay, who would I retain and who would I say have a good day? And who would I, because in essence, anybody you don't give a contract to, you're telling them have a good day.
Yes, indeed. In so many words, like you might be able to find that third or fourth, NIL organization down the line, and that's wonderful. But you're not going to get the big payday. And I wonder if and when Florida State can get that big TV money, buddy, that we're just pining for. And I see that Clemson is finally starting to leak stuff to the press that maybe something's coming down the pike for them. But if you get that big money, do you create a scouting department in which Florida State scouts are in attendance somewhere at a Division II or Division III game? Because that's what the NFL teams do. And maybe that's the smart thing in this day and age of NIL. You're always looking for more talent somewhere else.
That's hilarious. You go to like an Indiana game where Walt Bell just got fired, and you're like, did Walt have anybody? John, go up there this weekend. Let's go up to Bloomington, see if Indiana's got anybody. They got like a slot receiver we could use for next year.
I got to tell you, I looked at warm-ups today, and 82. We need to go get 82. Trust me, they're not playing them. They're nuts. But 80, let's go make him an offer. You give him like $10. He'll come down here.
I'd like the job to be sent all over to go watch other teams' offenses and see misused personnel. I'd be like, Michigan State's got quite a few dudes out here that are just being completely misused that could really play. I mean, Keon Coleman obviously could really play, and they did use him. But, I'm looking at linebacker. Let's go.
He's a valuable asset on the field on a game day. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, what if Tony Tokars was the guy that hits the road like, oh, my God, Tokars is in Bloomington today. What does he know? Why is
he
Tony
scouting?
Yeah.
Who's he scouting? Yeah, that would be a fun job if you like to travel incessantly during football season. But you could go see a lot of traditions, a lot of campus, a lot of stadiums, a lot of other. Yeah,
it's gonna happen. So obviously the bye week we had great coverage of Warchant.com, and Michael Langston's talking about where Coach Norvell is in the Southeast region. He gets in the chopper to show up and whatever. Right. But some head coach during a bye week is going to be in the stands eating popcorn. And it's going to be a Power 5 football game, and there they are. And they'll make the TV, and people say, whoa, look at that. Mike Norvell is here at Syracuse. Interesting stuff on a bye week. I think that's the wave of the future.
The teams, I'm looking, by the way, I went through, there's a bunch of articles today because of this parity that we're talking about, how all of these teams are going to have to finish their year to be able to get into the playoffs. So, like in the Big Ten, you have these big matchups that come down the line with Penn State and Ohio State and Michigan and all these. We're doing it in the ACC too. Now, I love being in the clear of the Clemson game, knowing that really the Miami game is going to help decide it all. Obviously, we're going to have to play well against Duke because they got a good defense, and we'll see. But I'm now doing this every week. I'm sitting around going, okay, what scenario creates the best buzz for Florida State? And it could be a matchup in the Big Ten. It could be a matchup in the Pac-12. It could be a matchup in the SEC. I'm just sitting because I'm looking down the line of you beat so-and-so who also beat so-and-so land. That's where we've gone, transitive all the way. Now I'm kind of like, that's why I was sitting there watching the other night, watching LSU's defense give up 55 points and 700 and some odd yards. And I thought, well, damn it, man, just negate our win. Why don't you?
And this is why you're watching Duke down the stretch saying, come on. This is going to be a high-profile game. Finish the job. You have wins over Clemson, and you have wins over Notre Dame before you get to Tallahassee. Come on. They would line up to come down here and cover that game because of the Duke novelty and the Florida State brand, and it's just, unfortunately, it doesn't happen. But Duke was one of our biggest hopes to help bolster our resume. If that doesn't say that 2023 is backwards, I don't know what does.
Well, think about it this way. The team we played this weekend just absolutely just bludgeoned Pitt. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about a Pitt team that does that to everybody else, even in years where they don't win they only won the conference once, but if they're in it, they don't always do that. And when they're bad, they sometimes do that. They're always physical. That's how they're taught to play. And yet, it was Virginia Tech that did that. We couldn't see this version of Pitt coming. That was the game later in the year that I was very worried about. Now I'm not worried about it. I'm worried about almost every other game but that game.
Yeah, it's because their offensive line is awful. It's awful. I remember seeing a note through, I think it was 3 weeks, and the pressure rate against was like 40%. Poor Phil Dracovic, man. He cannot find an offensive line in his entire career. He played behind one of the worst offensive lines in Power 5 football the last 10 years, including ours, because we had a few of them at BC. Last year's offensive line was cheeks for BC, and now this Pitt offensive line, which is usually one of the best parts of their team. The pressure rate is through the roof.
Well, he'll have to sit down and get him some Zaxby's to feel better. A big old chicken sandwich, thick cut buns and pickles. Ooh, this is all good. I like it. Maybe throw a little cheese on there too, Tom, if you want. They'll do it for you.
I didn't know they were breaking out the thick cut buns, but let's do it. And
hey, who doesn't like thick cut buns? Hey, now it's some pickles. Yay, let's do it.
They got the fried chicken Philly, this Saturday. It'll be good weather for a Philly.
Little Zax sauce, man. Do it up with those crinkle cut fries. Forget about it. Good times. Good times. That's what one of your 72 neighborhood Zaxby's. 72 Zaxby's to choose from in town. Really can't miss it. You'll find it. Go get it. Zaxby's, proud Golden Chief booster for over 18 years. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
At Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas, incredible dealer discounts up to $5,000 are available on all hot spring spas, the industry leader in hot tubs and spas. If you've never experienced the sensation and relaxation of having your own hot tub in your backyard on a cool evening, you're truly missing out. The cold months are coming, and now's the time to set yourself up for the best winter season you've ever had. Plus, you'll gain the added health benefits of reduced stress, relief of sore muscles, and better sleep. You'll feel so relaxed after a nice soak in your new hot spring spa. You'll experience some of the best sleep of your life. Head over to Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas on Greer Road and check out their huge showroom packed with the best selection of hot tubs and spas available. And ask about getting up to $5,000 in discounts, low interest financing, and a free accessory to make your hot tub dreams come true. If you're ready to relax, Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas is ready to show you how.
Someone who thought texting was a better idea than stopping for a traffic light slams into your rear bumper. Now your back is injured and you've got to be at work and rehab all without a car. I'm Dana Brooks of Basic Brooks Law Offices, and we hear stories like this every day. You shouldn't pay for someone else's mistake. Call us at 850-777-7777 and we'll make sure you come back stronger.
Honey, I just got a text from Dave. He wants us to come over for a barbecue. What's our excuse for not going?
Oh, no need for an excuse anymore because Dave got a new grill from Hearth and Patio.
Oh, thank goodness. Dave, we will be happy to join y'all this weekend, and congrats on the new grill from Hearth and Patio. My wife said she would bring potato salad.
Hearth and Patio invites you to elevate your grilling game this year with one of their amazing grills from Fire Magic, Royal Master, or Blaze Grills. Call them today, 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282, or visit them online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth and Patio, making barbecues great in the Sunshine State.
Honey, Dave said no raisins in the potato salad this time.
Call them today, 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282, or visit them online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com.
There's no doubt that buying a home can feel overwhelming, especially if it's your first home. You're worried about location, school zones, square footage, inspections, insurance, loan approvals, interest rates, and of course the price. Buying a home could be the most significant investment you've ever made. But there's good news. You have our friends at Legendary Home Loans, and they're on your side and in your corner. They're going to go to bat for you. Shannon Young from Legendary Home Loans can help first-time home buyers get up to $25,000 for your down payment. For first responders, veterans, teachers, military, and healthcare workers, and that's not all. Shannon is an expert navigator of the home loan terrain, and you can trust that he's going to get you the most competitive interest rates and guide you through the process every step of the way. Plus, Shannon will also get your closing costs reduced. It's the Hometown Heroes program at Legendary Home Loans. Give them a call today, 844-FSU-LOAN. That's 844-FSU-LOAN. Or go to FSUHomeLoans.com and ask for Shannon Young.
NMLS number 2270-146.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with
Rolling on as Ira Chaffel will join us in about 5 minutes or so. Going to do so via video. You'll get to see the gray fox will arrive here, and we'll be able to see him on the window there. We won't have that picture from 1987. Instead, it'll be here in person, and we'll have the chance to pick his brain. I'm glad he's feeling better. It seems the whole city got sick. You got out of town just in time, Tom. I stayed home and let everybody else be sick and locked myself in.
Yeah, that was a smart move. I don't know, though. The folks around Orlando and Lake Buena Vista said it was going around. And I was on many a public transport, and I was in many a line. So we are knocking on wood. Hopefully there was enough in the way of tasty, delicious beverages to kill any germs that came my way. But we'll find out. It's going to be a foot race.
You know, one of the things that you missed by not being on Thursday's show, buddy, was my little 5-minute window to break down just how bad our basketball team's going to be.
Ooh. Well, I don't want to relive that. Let it stand by itself on Thursday.
It'll stay out there forever. There you go. I was staring at that roster, and I was looking at what we are, and I thought, okay, all right, don't have that to look forward to.
Well,
sadly.
Yeah, we're finding out this week if there is going to be a change, and there's expected to be a change in transfer portal windows. But I will say, as much as I couldn't stand it last year because it's a 24-hour cycle, anybody could commit at any time or enter the portal at any time, 60 days worth of it over the course of 2 periods.
Yeah.
It did help move things along in basketball season, the transfer portal, because we were getting a lot of dudes, and we were retaining a lot of dudes as well. So that does help move the offseason in a way like the NFL does, where you have little events that are scattered about on the calendar. Now, next up on the list should be moving signing day back to February. Can we please do that?
I would like them to do that. By the way, there is a rumor out there that they're going to be making some big-time changes to the transfer portal in almost all sports across the board, that the NCAA is looking into doing that. I find it fascinating because I got to say, if you think about a big picture, like I think the portal certainly has been very good for college football as far as that competitive balance that I talk about. Obviously, it's been very good for this program, but I don't think they ever intended it to be what you see in some cases like Colorado, the most obvious example, where you have 60 guys come in from somewhere. You know, I'll be curious to see if they shut that down, what happens with that process.
Yeah, I think, we talked about this before, but a path out, and I don't know if they're going to use it, is, guaranteed scholarships for 3-4 years or 1 year. And what does the kid commit to? And I think if you commit to a 1-year renewable because you're a really good player and you'd like to renegotiate your setup every year, then you can go somewhere else and it's not a penalty. But if you go 3 or 4 years and you commit to Florida State and you say, I'm for the next 3 years signing on the dotted line, I need to sit out a full season if I decide to leave Florida State because I don't like the situation. That's just too bad, young man. Like, we got to find a way to rein this in and overcorrect it back the other way. I get it. The coaches were free to do whatever they wanted. The players could not. The correction was in spirit correct, and that's using the word correct a lot, but it's got to get back to the middle here.
Well, I think most everybody would agree to that extent. I do think it's fascinating, though, because the NCAA was absolute laughingstock for the better part of the last 3 years, where basically the courts told them they had no power. And once that happened, you just saw the free-for-all that we're talking about. And now because not everybody likes the way the system is set up, they're begging the NCAA to do something about it. It didn't look like the NCAA could. And now it appears, just based on their own rumblings, that they are going to attempt to. Now, we'll see if this gets challenged. But a lot of people thought that the NCAA was powerless. They're going to try to exercise some authority, and to some degree, they already have. Look at our situation with Darrell Jackson. And look at, there's players around the country where this has held true, and nobody is sued. I was waiting for the lawsuits to happen, and it hasn't happened. The kid at North Carolina didn't sue. And obviously Darrell Jackson hasn't sued. So it'll be fascinating to see. Maybe they still have some teeth, I suppose. We'll know in due time. By the way, that happened too while you were gone. Darrell Jackson is eligible if we go to the college football playoff to play for Florida State this year.
Yeah, we had known that semesters are an important thing to watch in this circumstance. But I was at practice when Mike. It was a good question by Aslan, and Mike was like, "Oh no, it's a reality." It was a possibility, and then it's a reality that Darrell Jackson is going to be postseason eligible. And so if Florida State can get to the playoff, man, that
changes a lot.
And he just happened to be awesome that day in practice too, which he routinely is. I get he's fresher than a lot of other guys, and so therefore it might be a little bit unfair, but man, to get that dude back in the rotation would be something else.
I see my man Ira Chaffel is ready to go. Let's bring him in. Let's talk some Florida State football and get Ira's perspective. Hello, good sir. How are you?
I'm great, Jeff. How you doing?
Good, buddy. By the way, you and I got a lot to talk about on Coach Speak this week. There's some good stuff already out there.
Sweet.
My man Billy Napier is getting testy down in Gainesville, buddy. He's barking back at his at the press there after that ass kicking they took. So we're gonna have to use that one for sure.
You love to see it, and really more than anything, you just love to see it.
You love to see it is right. Yeah. What'd you learn from the coaches today? I heard you asking questions. I could see what you were getting at with time of possession and all of that. What is it that stood out to you about what Mike or Alex or anybody had to say today?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Mike Norvell seems to be in the same headspace as probably you and me and Tom and Corey and everybody else that covers the team and the fan base, that you have a explosive offense over here that hasn't really got as many opportunities as you were thinking for two reasons. Number one, you haven't possessed the ball as long as you wanted to when you had it. You've had some 3 and outs. You've had some, or maybe you got a first down, but kind of got into a rut, taking some low percentage plays. And then on the other side of it, probably the bigger issue is you haven't been able to get teams off the field. And teams want to possess the ball because they don't want your offense on the field. So, and he's clearly all over that, and that clearly was a big point of emphasis during their bye week. So I think you'll see that manifest in a couple ways, and one of them defensively is I do think they're going to try to force the issue a little bit. He was quick to say that doesn't mean always blitzing, but it also means maybe dictating the terms a little more than they have. And then on the other side of the ball, I think that I bet they've kind of worked on some things running game wise. In terms of figuring out exactly what some of these guys could do. And if they get Robert Scott back, Maurice Smith apparently is clearly healthy, totally healthy now. Jordan Travis sounds like he's getting closer to 100%. Now you may see the offense that you thought you were going to have all year. And if that's the case, that may solve some of those issues in the running game by itself.
It'd be huge. I mean, I really think Jordan's health is principally at play here, because when he's healthy, he's going to run. There's no chance we watch this guy just not run all year long. I mean, he's had very few called runs, and then he won't run when he scrambles. So it's clear that he was protecting himself, which is fine, and protecting that shoulder and whatever else if he was dinged. But if he gets right and you can utilize him, we've seen how that opens up the offense. And I posited last hour, Ira, I think he's a better passer when he's running the football as well. When he's involved as a runner, I think everything opens up for him.
I agree 100%. And I know some people feel like, listen, you've got these wide receivers, let's just kind of spread the field and start chucking it all over the place. But not only is he a better passer, I think, when he's running, but I also think the offense just becomes much more dangerous.
Yes.
Now the defense has to respect that run. If Jordan Travis shows he's a threat as a runner, that makes life so much better for Trey Benson, makes life so much better for the other running backs, the offensive line, and then also that eventually that passing game, because now defenses have to respect it. So, yeah, man, I think that's going to be a big deal. I also think it helps that you're not going to see Clemson again. And that, that defensive front was as good as they're going to see all year until maybe they make it to the playoff again. And I just think that if they can unlock that, I think it would change everything for the offense.
Yeah, and then I think they may have accidentally figured out who they have to be on defense. Teams have kind of forced them to figure that out with the halftime adjustments that Adams been able to make. And to his credit, on the one hand, he's made those adjustments. On the other hand, you'd like to see it carry over from week to week, and it really hasn't, at least not to start games. But I have a sense they will be aggressive. I know what you're saying. They're not going to blitz all the time. But I think they are going to be in a very aggressive front. I think they're going to have their guys – play upfield. Let's go. This sitting back stuff is not who they are. And I'd rather them give up a big play while being aggressive than let a guy get confidence picking you apart while you're in zone. It drives me nuts watching it. I have a feeling they'll be much more aggressive for the remainder of this season.
Yeah. And I mean, Adam Fuller admitted it, that their corners, their defensive backs in general have to be better about playing tighter coverage. So even in the plays where we don't feel like they're being very aggressive, you can still play tighter coverage.
Sure.
They have not done that. And then the other thing I thought was interesting today was when we talked about Akeem Dent, Adam Fuller brought it up on his own. And then later when I asked him about Akeem Dent possibly coming back this week, which he could, which would be a big deal. It's a guy who started 32 games at safety. If you get him back, that would be big as well. He hasn't played since early in the Southern Miss game, but he went right back to challenging the young DBs and how badly they want to get those guys on the field. And I think they're at a point where they've got, Conrad Hussey and KJ Kirkland and Quindarius Jones and some of those guys in the secondary who are impressive freshmen. I think he's really challenged them this week to say, listen, don't just assume you're a backup, so this is a wasted year. Fight, get in there, make us play you. And I think you're going to see some more opportunities maybe for some of those younger defensive backs, especially as you play a Virginia Tech. Maybe as you play a Syracuse, as you go in the season, because you may need those guys later in the year because they've got a ton of talent.
Well, and that's the main thing, too. I think the reason he wants those guys at corner and safety to be able to get out there and force them to play him is because their upside's better than who you have out there, frankly. I mean, it is. Long-term upside is better. And they're longer. They're more athletic. They're good football players who I think have a chance to be very good, but they got to get out there. And I can see why he's challenging them because somebody can emerge from that. That's one of those positions where a freshman can really aid your team. There aren't too many where a true freshman can come in and make an impact on your team, but that's a position they can. If you have that length and athleticism, and they do, you just got to know scheme. You just got to know what they're doing. Really, the only reason they haven't been out there is because they don't know what they're doing when they get the chance.
Right, 100%. And in these games, you had such a tough first month. You weren't going to do it in the LSU game.
Yeah.
Boston College, your first road trip, and then that game got dicey, really weird. I mean, it was just a strange game. And then you have Clemson on the road, so you're not going to use them there. Well, now you've got a chance. In a normal world, look at Georgia. They had basically 3 preseason games. You could do some of that early in the year. Florida State, because of the schedule, didn't have those opportunities.
Yeah, Michigan's had the same thing, and they've stomped everybody they've played, and so it's kind of hard to get a read. This is a fun year where you feel the pressure to get this remedied, the little things that are plaguing the team, whether it's the running game on offense, whether it's coming out and starting well on defense and pressuring the quarterback, whatever it might be, because you look around and you realize, man, I don't know. There's like 15 teams that could win the national title right now. Like every one of us, I think Florida State has serious flaws, but they could fix them. I think this team over here has serious flaws, but they could fix. There's a lot of these type teams. Normally you and I are like, well, ain't nobody beating this team. Nobody's beating that team, right? That's not the case this year at all.
Not at all. And the only teams that have looked dominant, really Michigan's about it. It's because they haven't played anybody. Georgia looked that way until they had played somebody with a pulse. And Auburn's not great. They're a decent team. And so you look at Southern Cal, the second half of that game against Colorado. I mean, those were on both sides of the ball. The offense didn't look good. Once they got out of rhythm, and the defense didn't look good at all, obviously. So, I mean, a team with no defense, is that a team that you can't beat? Really, again, until we see Michigan play Ohio State and Penn State, I don't know if we're going to know much about them. And we certainly aren't going to know a ton about, I think, again, that will give us a clearer picture. Whereas, again, I think with Florida State, LSU may not be what we thought they were, but Clemson damn sure is, man. Clemson's good. And I think that
Clemson will finish the year strong, and that win will help us. I will say, I think Texas is good. They've got a good resume right now. You go into Alabama and win that game,
right,
and that's a good win. And then they beat Kansas this week.
But they have also had a couple games where they didn't look great.
Yeah, they had the one half against Wyoming where they didn't look good. But, I'm not saying they're a juggernaut. I think they've looked good. But it doesn't – our fans get upset because they keep dropping in the rankings. if Florida State wins out, they're going. They're going to the college football playoff. But I do think, and would you agree with this, they're going to have to go undefeated.
Yeah, I probably. The only thing I would say, man, is if they start looking dominant, and I think that's possible. I mean, I think it's a big deal. What Mike Norvell was talking about today, as you look at it, if you get Akeem Dent back, and now you bring back Kentron Portier, who's a guy that in the spring looked like their number 2 wide receiver. We've kind of ignored the fact that he hasn't played at all.
Yeah.
I think if he comes back, it's a nice piece. Jakai's a nice piece. And then also, Robert Scott's a huge deal. And so now that offensive line becomes a different group. Jordan, if he's healthy and starts to get comfortable, I think we could see this offense look like what it did. And if it does, and if you have a stretch here with the resume they already have and you start steamrolling people, now maybe it's not the end of the world if you drop a game. But they got to start playing better because right now they're not impressing anybody when they do play.
Brother, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Always good to catch up with you.
Thanks, Jeff. See you, man.
Yeah, man. Ira Chaffel, warchant.com. And, by the way, we will do Seminole headlines tomorrow. We'll do Coach Speak later in the week, which has become a fun show to do as well. So lots of chances to catch up with Ira throughout the week as well. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Northeast near Mayhem Road are closed after a sewage force main break. The main sewage break happened Sunday morning, and crews were able to stop the overflow just before noon. Utility crews were also seen digging up large chunks of the road in front of the FSU Credit Union on Capitol Circle Northeast. Officials said businesses in the area near Austin Davis Drive and Easter Stanley Court can still be accessed. Utility crews are still working to determine how many gallons of sewage spilled. The Tallahassee Police Department is teaming up with Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare for their Go Pink kickoff. For the entire month of October, officers will wear pink. It will show up on their uniforms, badges, patches, and on department social media. TPD Chief Lawrence Norvell said wearing pink is just one part of their efforts. TPD is also donating more than $4,000 to the American Cancer Society. This is Rachel Anay with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Bright sunshine expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 86. Northeast winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Clear skies and quiet again tonight. Lows dip down to about 63. Highs level off around 85 tomorrow. Ample sunshine expected. Upper 80s Wednesday and Thursday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 85.
T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark Construction.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those darn leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Spark Enterprises, roofing and construction services. T-Spark Construction.com.
License number CCC 1331204.
So everybody knows, Eddie, that you are a spectacular cook. Of course they know that. If they go into Bumpa's, the food is always good. I mean, everything on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Everything at Gordo's is delicious. I always, of course, get the bungalow chungla, as I call it.
The bangka lechong, Jeff.
Is that what is the pork?
The bangka lechong, Jeff.
Okay, the bungalow chungla. It's delicious. All these things, all the items, everything you do, a master cook. But, sir, I would ask you, what is a skill that you possess that you're particularly proud of that nobody would know and that you could share with us here?
Growing hair, Jeff. Growing hair.
You're an asshole. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news.
Thanks to Ira Schafel as he joined us a moment ago. Looking forward to talking to him for Seminole Headlines tomorrow, as well as Corey, and kind of getting a read on what their thoughts are heading into the week against Virginia Tech, just as we've done today. And also, it's weird because this is a team that I think he hit on something a moment ago, Tom, that I do want to bring up here. I think he's right about this. For all of my concerns, and I seem to bring them up maybe more than I do the pros for this team, just because I think they're capable, if they get right, of making the college football playoff. And if you make the college football playoff, you got a chance to win a national title. And that's why we play the game, kids. But I do think that if they start humming again and they get healthy and Jordan is willing to run, they could have a dynamic offense. And I don't think that was just because LSU's defense struggled. I do think that there was more balance on that night in the second half where you saw them dedicate themselves to running the football early in the second half. That opened things up. They threw the ball in the middle of the field. They made plays all over the field. That's really more of what we thought we would see all season long from this team. If they used it this week to get healthy and to kind of reestablish who they are and find that identity again, if that does happen and they take off, and say it starts this Saturday by dominating Virginia Tech and then going from there and beating the teams you're supposed to beat, which are really all of these games here at home coming up, then Florida State will be in a prime position to be, ranked where everybody wants them to be, 1, 2, 3, or 4, but certainly that top 3 would be nice so you don't have to sweat it.
Yeah, agreed. Look, this is why I'm very interested in this game is what do they choose to be? And do they still want to do the run to set up the pass? And if so, do they still want to run the way that they ran the ball last year in terms of the plays, in terms of the formations? Is the answer yes across the board, or do they want to be something just a little bit different this year? And they wouldn't be wrong to do that. But the thing is, I think they could do what they did last year on the ground if Robert Scott's healthy. And so the sooner he gets back in the fold, the better. But if he's close, but not 100% this weekend, and it could be improved by waiting a week, I'd wait.
Gotta wait. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's a decision to make for Akeem Dent the same way. Do you have to have him this week? I'm not saying do the Jimbo thing where you're trying to skirt around a team and sit a guy and send a bad message to the team. But come on, folks, it's Virginia Tech. Come on, folks. Let's see if Florida State can establish what they want to do, even if Robert Scott's not out on the field, and they can cover a little bit better and make tackles in space, even if Akeem Dent is not on the field. You should be able to do that if you are a playoff caliber team against Virginia Tech. So it's about the edge and the focus. How sharp do they look? How quickly do they get downhill and play physically? They're going to need to this week. I mean, in short, it was a lot of fun to watch college football this past weekend. There were a lot of good finishes.
Well, and you didn't have anything to worry about.
Right. You can kick back and relax and watch everybody else sweat bullets because everybody's going to sweat bullets this year. They just are. But I'm tired of watching other teams. I can't wait to watch what we're about. This is a fascinating case study for Mike Norvell. And these next 3 home games are going to help set the tone for the rest of the year.
It's very rare that noon window is your window where everybody's excited to sit down and watch college football like it was this past week. And the noon games were where it was at. And as you sat back, you kind of thought, obviously late at night you were watching 55-49 and you're thinking to yourself, who in the hell combines for 1,343 yards? Well, LSU and Ole Miss did. And while that was entertaining, it was not good football. It just wasn't good football. And then you go and you watch Notre Dame and Duke, which is a rugged, old-fashioned football game filled with a lot of really hard hits, and they give it up to Sam Hartman on that run on 4th and 16, and they'll be ruined the day because they were that close to mattering late into the season. And now, obviously, that kind of goes up in smoke with Riley Leonard's injury as well, as we talked about. You had UCF's Big 12 home debut, and they have a 28-point lead over Baylor in the second half and choke to Dave Aranda. It was a crazy, crazy 4th down conversion to boot. I mean, the weekend featured kind of a bunch of really fun games. USC and Colorado was fun in the second half. It got weird.
It get weird.
Georgia surviving Auburn was weird. Obviously, it was fun watching Kentucky run roughshod over Florida. It's been a fun year because nobody's dominant. That's the theme of the show today.
There's a lot of chirping in Orlando on Friday, and not at Florida State stuff. I was wearing FSU, but it wasn't about that. It was just, a lot of bravado about UCF and what it's going to be like. And, dude, that's a toughie. That is a toughie. And they'll rebound from it.
You know what I think about UCF's coach? I've said that before. So
Yeah, and Aranda got the better of him, and I'm sure he appreciates that. Dave Aranda appreciates what UCF did for them in the second half of that game. But I got to tell you, my favorite play, I know that the whole world loves this kid in a way that makes you uncomfortable, but it is the 4th and 16 run. That's a breathtaking play. You go, oh my, he could die. This man could die. He's not fast. He's going to get destroyed. And somehow, some way, he gets across that line, obviously not sliding like Cade Klubnik would have in that moment in that same building. But that was just once it happened, you're like, oh, they're going to score. That's it. Even though there's a ton of field to still cover.
Well,
you knew it.
Given that I had Duke plus 5.5, you can give up the field goal. You don't have to give up the touchdown with seconds on the clock. Tackle somebody, you dumbasses. That was infuriating, but hey, it's also why we like to gamble. I mean, it's the kind of juice you can have in a game like that.
And the other thing we talked about it in the first hour is if it's 3rd and long and you're facing Georgia, you bracket 19. If he beats the bracket, great. If somebody else beats you, great. But don't leave him alone. Don't have a coverage bust with that kid up the seam. Like, what the hell is wrong with you, Auburn?
It was bizarre. I mean, he might be the best player in the country. He's ridiculous. You should not be able to be built like that and run like that and have hands like that. And over and over and over again, they leave you that open. But even when they did cover him, Tom, he makes impossible catches. It's ridiculous. I don't know how the hell Brock Bowers is listed at 240 pounds. There ain't no way. That dude is huge. There's no way. Look at him. He's gigantic.
He is, but I think the 1990s Mike Allstott shoulder pads probably create a sense that he's larger than he is.
I'm talking about his legs. He's got massive legs. He's huge. They can never bring him down. It's embarrassing. How in the world is a kid from Napa Valley out here just killing people? Wine country, rich ass, just dominating. It's weird.
And yet he wasn't as dominant as Khalil Mack was yesterday. Good God, Oakland, or sorry, Las Vegas. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah. The slate in the NFL every weekend is fun because you end up with the witching hour, like you talk about on Red Zone, and every game has a moment where you're like, what? They were down 23 points last I looked. And next thing you know, like that Colts-Rams game, nobody would care about that game. It goes to overtime. You're like, how is that even possible? Even Chicago-Denver, which nobody should be forced to watch, is a game that features a 21-point comeback. It's nuts.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And yesterday, Khalil had 6 sacks. I mean, how many plays did they run? Like, 50, 55? Over 10% of the time, your quarterback is going. It's the NFL. I get it's happened before. And so I think this is the 4th or 5th time that 6 sacks happening. Come on. It's the NFL, folks. Six sacks in one game. That is disgustingly demoralizing.
That'll hurt your feelings. But, we didn't have to worry about anything because the Bucs dominated the Saints. And meanwhile, I owe Baker Mayfield an apology. He's been awesome. He's legitimately been very, very good. I watched every second of our games, and I've thought, look at you, Baker Mayfield, out here doing things you've never done. Look, this is smart decision making. You are patient. You run at the right times. You're tough. All these things. I apologize, Baker.
He gets 2 strikes a game. If you're the defense, you're going to get 2 chances where it's going to be late and over the middle. And if you come away with both, you're in good shape. But you better get both because the other throws, the other decisions are very good. But the game was, the game was over after the pick towards the end of the first half, and then there's a fumble, and then you turn right around and you score. Like that's the game right there.
The pick towards the end of the first half there, I'm like, oh well, there's the Baker Mayfield I've always known. And they get the ball back, and then obviously they score, and then from there it's a dominant effort.
There's a throw over the middle too that looked just like one of the Philly interceptions on Monday night. We're going, dude. I mean, what do you think this is? The Big 12 still? You think this is LSU and Ole Miss? Like, God, you can't do that late, young man. But yeah, the Bucs now are in control of the division. I think they're the favorites to win the division. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. But if here's the thing: if you're going to screw yourself out of a good draft choice to be able to get a big time quarterback that is your future at the position, the most important position in football, at least win the division and fly that banner forever, baby, because they do fly forever. So go ahead and win the division. Screw them.
It's an interesting. So they got the bye week, and this isn't the Scuttlebucks, but they play the Lions after. What an interesting game! Lions Tampa, weird.
Throwback to yesteryear. Central. Anytime we play the Bears or the Vikings or the Packers or the Lions, I'm like, my childhood. Here it is on display yet again. Those poor Bears fans. I mean, those fans are some of the best fans in football, and they are watching an absolute dumpster fire. That couldn't be any worse. They've lost 14 straight games?
That's 13 or 14. Yeah.
Good God, man.
Yeah. And you just lost a Sean Payton coach team that gave up 70 earlier this season.
Well, and the Dolphins turned around and gave up 48, and the Bills were like, get you some. I'll drop a number on that ass.
So I was sitting down for a little cocktail over lunch yesterday, and there was a Dolphins fan watching on his phone, and he's talking big game and having a good time, and then he shut the hell up about 10 minutes after he started talking big game because they were never getting a stop yesterday.
No, that was a dismantling, and that is, that's the good version. That's the good version of the Bills. It's a good version of when he's that way. You're like, oh, well, that is different. That is very different. Pains my heart in the waning minutes of the show not to be able to do probables. I will be able to do probables tomorrow. Yeah, because tomorrow we have Texas and Tampa Bay at 3:00, right when we get off the air. Toronto and Minnesota, Arizona and Milwaukee, and then in prime time, Director Matthew, your boys, hosting Miami. Somehow Miami made the playoffs despite a negative run differential of 1,000. But they're in. So there it is. And this is a reminder that we are in the best time of year. The weather is getting better. When you walk out in the morning, it's glorious. In the evenings, it's nice to sit out on the deck. You can do a little grilling. You got the baseball playoffs. You're in the throes of college football. NFL, this is perfect.
And I'll give you 2 probables for tonight. Irish O'Fell and me. We're the probables on the hill for the Smash. We're doing a bye week Smash on a Monday.
I thought the Smash was Sundays these days.
From the bye week, we're just doing a Monday tonight. So, yep.
A Monday Smash. Tommy and Ira got you covered tonight at 7:00 on Warchant TV. Make sure you log in and watch it and enjoy that. I know I'll be grilling at that time, Tom. I'll put you on in the background. There you go.
All right.
Good times.
You grilling up some okra tonight?
I don't know. Don't think I'm going to grab the okra, but we'll see. You never know. Good work out of you, Director. Good work, Tommy. Thanks to Ira. Be well, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.